From the Riffs!
Welcome to From the Riffs. I'm Carmen Belair.
And I'm Big Will Johnson.
And today we're going to go over the main Riffs book.
If you haven't checked out the introductory video that we posted before, just to get an overview of Riffs, then I suggest you go back and give that a little perusal, and you'll understand a little better what we're actually getting into here. This will be more of an in-depth look at the actual book itself.
Yeah, the character classes, the kind of magic and equipment stuff you'll find in the main Riffs RPG book. Now we've got some world books up here just for you to look at, but it's the main book we're going over. Okay, let's start with the Men-at-Arms. Okay, do you want to start with the first one?
Oh, sure. The first class in Men-at-Arms is the full combat Borg.
This is essentially a brain in a jar type Borg.
That's actually exactly what I was going to say.
It's a full transplant, so they basically take your brain and spinal column, maybe your eyeballs, and stick it inside of a robot body.
So it's kind of that classic sci-fi look.
Yeah.
I think there's a great piece of artwork in there for that one.
Yeah. If you ever seen that one movie that was in Detroit, and it was about a certain cop who became, a robot, that would be it. After that, there's the Headhunter, which is kind of like the low rent version of the Cyborg. So instead of a full conversion body, you have a couple conversion parts, and other than that, you're just a guy with a gun.
Again, more classic sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, simple stuff. After that, we get into some of the stuff that's more unique to Riffs. The first one's the Crazy. Crazy is one of my favorites. What they do is they put a series of implants in your head, and the implants, they augment your strength, speed, they give you a little bit of psychic powers, but the
downside is this eventually drives you over the edge, and essentially you become crazy. That is demonstrated on the chart that you roll on.
Yeah, and the more levels you gain in the class, the more insanities you gain. So as time goes on, your character gets more screwed up and more screwed up.
Now, this can pose a particular challenge for newer role players, so this is something we definitely wouldn't suggest if you're new to role-playing as a hobby. But for all you old schoolers and previous Palladium fans, I know you guys are going to totally dig it, and if you haven't tried using the Crazy in a Rift campaign, I would definitely suggest it. I myself am looking forward to giving it a try, because I don't normally play characters that have a psychosis, but getting some confidence in my role-playing abilities, so like I said, this is definitely one, if you want a bit of a challenge to play something a little crazier, this is the one for you.
Okay, so let's jump on from the Crazy. The next are the Augmented Humans, because Augmented Humans is a real kind of theme in Riffs.
Yeah, it's kind of a generalization too.
Yeah. The next one would be the Juicer, and the Juicer uses, instead of machines or implants, it uses chemicals.
Yeah, they're chemical augmentations. So essentially high nutrition or certain chemical compounds, I guess we'll use that.
Yeah, the Juicer has a collar around his neck that injects drugs into him. They're like steroids, bone enhancers, muscle enhancers, but it's continuously feeding into his system. It basically improves him all the time. It's not like something you take 1 second and then it dies away. It's a continuous effect in his stream, in his bloodstream.
Now, unfortunately for the Juicer, the downside of that is anytime you amp your body up to that degree, just like the Crazy, there's a downside to that, there's a downside to the Juicer. The downside is you will die sooner.
Yeah, 5-year lifespan, give or take a little bit. It means you're one of the fastest, toughest, best hand-to-hand combatants, but your character will only live a certain amount of time. Unfortunately, if the GM has a habit of making your game pace through the months and years quickly, your character will die long before you get to experience high levels with them. So, if you do a day-by-day type game, where the time rolls by slowly,
right,
then you'll get a lot of play out of them still.
But anyway, I've actually played a Juicer before. I actually played a Dragon-blooded Juicer, which I do recommend if you're playing a nice and powerful game. A lot of fun, also very expensive because you have to get somebody to create your concoction or chemical soup.
Yeah.
So that can be an expensive in-game mechanic, I suppose. So, like we were saying, that's going to be that's definitely one that, you know, if you're going to play the juicer, keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay, the next one would be those who rely on some type of power armor. Now, the most famous power armor in Rifts is the Glitter Boy. The Glitter Boy, it's the USA G10 Glitter Boy, or in the Chaos Rifts, it's the Chromium Guardsman. Either way,
They're all from San Francisco.
yeah. Either way, it's a huge, it's a huge power armor.
I couldn't keep a straight face.
With this giant boom gun that is the most powerful weapon in the game. And but it is a slow armor. You've got to plant yourself with these stabilizers in the ground. It has a lot of downsides to it, but it is, again, the biggest gun in the game. Okay. Along with them, though, you have your regular robot pilots. So these are the guys who operate any of the other types of power armor or giant robots. And there is a plethora through Rifts of different types of power armor and giant robots. There's all kinds of them, so everyone will be able to find one that they like. Like, one of my favorite comes from the Naruni Wave 2 book, the Sun Chariot, which is this robot that features all kinds of fire-based weapons. But I mean, there's something in there for everybody. After that, we have the Cyber Knight.
That's one of my favorites. Cyber Knight is something you may in a Rift campaign. Essentially, the Cyber Knight, instead of focusing on enhancement through chemicals or through bionics, essentially the Cyber Knight relies on mystic skill.
Yeah, mystic training, mystic influence. He does have cyber armor, where he gets his name from, and he can mess with machinery, but it's all pretty much psi powers and psi related.
And they can be a pretty tough customer once you get them up in levels.
Yeah. Okay, and after that we get down to our simple merc, the everyday regular mercenary.
Which shouldn't be underestimated, because really, in Rifts, you can always find a bigger, better gun, or you can find people who have bigger, better guns.
Than you do, yeah.
So don't come into the world itself thinking that just because you're playing an augmented character, if someone is playing a mercenary or a layman type character, that they're going to be at a huge disadvantage. They may not necessarily be, because there's definitely access to more bigger, better, more powerful items.
Okay. After that, we get down to the next class of characters. Those are your adventurer scholar types. Essentially, all the adventurer scholars share the fact they are not the main combatants. They are not magic users. They have no special psychic powers to draw upon. They're more or less regular characters. I'll run real quick through them, and then we'll give you our opinion on them. You have the Body Fixer, who's your regular doctor. You have the Cyber Doc, who's the cybernetic version of a regular doctor. You have the City Rat, which is kind of your street urchin type character. You have the Operator, who's your mechanic and fixer. You have the Rogue Scholar and Rogue Scientists, who are like, they're basically those who are trying to maintain the old knowledge and teach it to new people. And because there's a whole background with the Coalition and trying to keep knowledge secret, they're kind of against the laws, so they're an outlaw. Then there's the Vagabond, who's like your regular jack of all trades, master of nothing. And then finally we have the Wilderness Scout, who's your Wilderness Scout. He goes out outside of the cities and the safety zones.
Which, in Rifts, that means something.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
That means something.
But I mean, in general, these kind of characters can be fun to play, but they do not have the big kapow that the mercenary types or the men-at-arms have, or the magic users.
Now, I would actually suggest, too, if you're going to play a character like this, that you're playing it in a more role-play focused campaign. So.
All right, we'll have to wrap this up for now, and we're going to come back again with the second half, and we'll go through the rest of the classes and the other parts of the book.
Again, this is like the main book in Palladium, so there's a whole lot of ins and outs we're going to get to.
All right, thank you, and that's it from the rest.
See you in part 2.